I'm back. It's me again, Christina C. Jones, and I feel like it has been like so long since I have been back on my channel. It's really only been like a month. I think Friday, Friday or Saturday was today. Today's the 11th. It's gonna be exactly a month, and again, it just really feels like it's been a long time. Since the last time I talked to you guys, I spent a lot of time kind of under the weather, just with this and that, with a lot of stress. And this is actually something that I talked to my therapist about at my appointment at the top of the month. And she really stressed for me the importance of taking care of myself and resting. Just kind of taking that time to actually rest, not, not doing anything while you think about and stress about all the things that you aren't doing, but actually resting, like mentally, physically, all of it. And being kinder to myself, especially when it comes to work related things, and even just the things that I do as a creator in general. And it was so crazy that once I finally took her advice, I ended up having kind of a breakthrough in the project that I was working on, that I was trying to work on. But I'll talk a little bit about that later. Okay, so first up, before I get into my other stuff, I got a comment weeks ago that I never did respond to, because I was like, okay, this is something that I could talk about on a video, because it was really, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say about it, and I didn't want it to get not only, I didn't want it to get condensed into just a comment. And I also believe that this is something that other people might be struggling with, and so I wanted to address it in a video for everybody to, for more than just this particular commenter to see. So the comment says, Christina, you spoke on a prior video in regards to finding a method of writing that works for the individual. With so many books and chaos speaking on the so-called right way of writing a book, outlining, not outlining, character-driven, plot-driven, and so many other ways, which can get overwhelming, that you will and can get discouraged. Will you speak on how you found your method of writing and how others can find theirs too? I am so confused with the different ways that I'm not going to lie, I get very frustrated. Do you plot or outline, or just write, or maybe both? Thanks in advance. Thank you for an awesome question. I'm not the reason I'm not addressing her by name is because her name is an amalgamation of some really amazing women. Asada, Afeni, Winnie, Nzinga, all these different really notable black women. And so I don't believe that those are her name, but hopefully hopefully you're gonna see this. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, let me start by admitting that I personally am not a strict plotter, but when I was trying to be a plotter, I ran across a beat sheet, the romance beat sheet. You can literally like type exactly that into Google, and it's like the first result. But it was this free resource from I can't recall her name, Jamie something, but she's an author, and she writes, and she had created this downloadable spreadsheet that honestly makes me itch a little bit to think about it, because like I said, I am nobody's strict plotter or anything like that. It's just too it's too structured for me, and my brain just won't, like, I'll completely shut down. And so it doesn't work for me. But if you are somebody who likes to really, to really plan and everything before you sit down to write, or even during, or even while you're writing, that could potentially be a really good resource. I'm going to try to remember to link to it in the description box, but just in case I don't, like I said, just type romance beat sheet into Google, and it's literally like the first result. Or if you are looking to potentially support a young black author Be Love, if you're not already following her, but I believe her Instagram at least is at Author Be Love. She talks a lot about outlining, and I believe that she has some resources and different things on her website for purchase. And so that's another option for you if you're looking for something that's probably more up to date because the free one that the free, like the beat sheet that I was talking about, like that's been around since I first started writing, and so it's probably at least 7 or 8 years old. So if you're looking for something a little more up to date, and potentially, I think that she offers like some consulting and stuff too. And so she might be someone that you want to look into for that. But for me personally, I don't plot. It just it just doesn't work for my brain. And when I say that, that does not mean that I don't know what's going to happen in my story. Like, I'll have the initial idea, the inciting incident or whatever. Typically, I will have that in my head. If I don't have that, I'll have certain characters in my head. And then from there, I kind of try to work backwards. Like, okay, what brought them to where they are now? What were the circumstances? What was the backstory that would lead to something like this? And that's kind of how I build it out in my head. I don't really. I've tried and tried to be a person who like takes notes, who like has a visual for a scene in her head and writes it down, or has like a flash of dialogue and writes it down. But I'm just not that person. I'm very disorganized when it comes to stuff like that. But if you are someone who can actually do that, I would highly recommend having some type of notes app on your phone. I would really, even more than that, I would recommend getting the Google Docs app on your phone, or some similar cloud-based app, so that you're able to access it wherever you are. Because you don't want to have, spend on your laptop and you write something down, and then later you're, at dance practice, or at wherever you're sitting somewhere in line, or you're sitting at the doctor's office waiting or something like that, and you have this idle time and you're trying to expand on this idea that you have, but you can't remember what you wrote down in your notes because it's at home on your laptop, and so you don't have access to it. So I would definitely recommend some type of cloud-based solution for that. But yeah, I'm not the person to I'm not the person to seek advice from if you're a strict plotter, because that's just it's not at all how I work. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that my way is the right way, because I absolutely don't believe that. Like I said, I'm not a very organized person, and so this is just what happens to work for me. I spent a lot of time at the top of my career. That's how I even know about the beat sheet, because I spent a lot of time, going through that, and what's the proper arc, and have you hit what's your your black moment and your climax and the resolution and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that those things don't matter. I'm just saying that my brain doesn't connect to them in that way. Like, I kind of don't have necessarily plots in my books. I just know like the things that are going to happen. Like, I have the scenes in my head, and I know, okay, if I'll use Auntie Up as the example. If I know that, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to work out my example here, but if I know that King is going to, run into Asha again, like I have the scene in my head of them running into each other at a spa. He's not dressed for the spa, she is. And so why is he there? What's the purpose? How, what happened to get them, to this place? And what happened is that he bought her a spa voucher, that's good for, it's this unlimited use spa voucher that he gifts her with after this night that they spend together. And just different little things like that. Like, okay, this is the scene that I have in my head. What's going to get me from the beginning of the story to that? And if that is the beginning of the story, or even if it's not, what's going to take me from this point to the end of the story? Or what's going to move me forward from this point? What's the natural next step for these characters that have been in my head? What's the natural next step for them? And that's just kind of the way that I go. Now, I will take time to sit and think through this, and I will sometimes, like, if I'm if I'm smart, if I'm being smart about it at that time, I will actually sit down and take notes, or I'll be telling a friend about it, and so I'll copy paste that. Like, if the conversation is taking place, you know, through text message or something like that, I'll copy paste those text messages into a Google Doc so that I'm able to access it wherever, so that I'm keeping up with these things that I know are supposed to happen, or when these in between scenes, or when these different transitional moments happen for me in my head, I'm able to keep track of them and write everything all down. I think that part of why that works for me is because I write character driven books. Is kind of what I feel about my work. It's not necessarily about some high concept plot or anything like that. It's very much about these people, and I feel like that's very I feel like that pairs well with my preferred genre, which is romance, because romance is very popular. And because of that popularity, and because of the number of authors within this very popular genre, all the, you know, all the tropes, the friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience, whatever, it's all been done a million times. All the different tropes, all these different, you know, conventions. If if the characters go home, you know, to their parents' house, you know, somebody's gonna walk in on an intimate moment. Like, you didn't come up with that. You know, somebody else did that before you. What makes the difference is your voice as an author and the characters, because just like in real life, you know, not everybody is going to react to something like that in the same way. People are going to have different reactions. They're going to have different thoughts about it. Different, you know, it's going to be different depending on how, you know, on who you've paired together. And so those are the things that make your book stand out or make your book different from the next book. And yeah, I just like people. I just like people. I like, you know, digging into the characters and figuring out their motivations, and figuring out how who they are, like figuring out how that changes the way that they see the world, and the way that they react to certain things, and the way that they fall in love, and the way that they fight and argue and make up, and all of that. Yeah, I really like to focus on the characters instead of the plots. And I mean, I've been accused before of, well, you just write the same thing over and over. Like, it's always a girl who, you know, had a bad breakup and meets someone new. Like, that was actually, you know, that was actually said. Not directly to me. It was in a review, which, I mean, I guess I get that, you know, like, if you're looking for something different, maybe it does feel like the same thing over and over, but it's also a pretty common convention in romance that a woman is, or has gotten out of a bad relationship, and she meets the man who's gonna, you know, who's gonna offer a good one, or the woman who's gonna offer a good one, or the shifter who's gonna offer a good one, whatever different, you know, whatever different subgenre you're in. But overall, that's pretty common. It's a pretty common thing for romance. But what makes the difference is the characters. And if you know, if you're breaking it down to just that, if you're breaking it down to just boy meets girl, then yes, every romance novel is the same. I mean, generally speaking, because not all romances are boy meets girl, but you guys, you get what I'm saying. You know, if you're breaking it down to just those most base elements, they're of course they're all going to be the same. Girl meets, you know, meets partner that she hates, and they hate, or whatever, and then they fall in love after they've been doing that. It's kind of like, those are basic building blocks, and then the characters is what makes it different. Like, the characters, and like I said, your voice also, because we could write, the strong black woman character, or the artsy girl, or whatever. We can give 5 romance authors the same, the same basic phenotype, the same basic details of, okay, write this for me. And you're going to get 5 completely different stories from those different authors, even with the same details, because they're going to be bringing their own experiences and their own histories and their own voice to it every time. And so it's always going to be something different just depending on who you're getting it from. So all that to say that to me, what it really boils down to is the right way to write your book is whatever gets words down on the page. And I know that probably sounds really like corny and really frou-frou, but just honestly speaking, it has to be about what really enables you to work. There is a ton of noise about writing on social media. There's always someone running up to speak their truth as if it's universal. Um, First draft is always trash. You gotta write 5 drafts in order for it to be right. Nobody can write a book in 10 days. Minimum is months, or it shouldn't take anybody, a year to write a book. You should have been done with that in 6 months. Or romance is, gross or nasty or smutty. I hate the word smut in reference to romance. Smut and trashy. I hate it. But that's beside the point right now. But there's always somebody waiting to offer their opinion as if it's law, right? Well, if we're taking opinions as law, let me say this. Nobody knows the perfect way to write a book, okay? The only thing that I can do is talk to you from my experiences and from the things that I know, the things that have worked for me, the things that have not worked for me, the things that I've learned from. And so as frustrating as it is, I really feel like it's important to go through those frustrations. And so if you have been struggling with that, don't feel like you've done something wrong, because what you've done is you've tried. And from those tries, from those attempts, you're going to figure out what that thing is for you. Like, you're going to figure out what that right method is for you. But if I listened to or took seriously every every piece of advice that I saw on social media, or even every critique that I've seen of my work, honey, I wouldn't be doing nothing. Yeah, I had somebody once refer to my work as drive-through when they were looking for a full course meal, which, cool, maybe that is the case for you. But the thing is, I write what I enjoy. I write what I like. And so if I took that too personally, which at the time, I'm not gonna front it. That hurt my feelings. Do you hear me? But over time, I came to understand that. So everything that you do isn't going to be for everybody. And even the people that it's for, sometimes they're just not going to like that. Sometimes they're just not going to like that particular thing, but they like this other stuff. And that's cool. You have to be okay with. But more than anything, you have to produce content that you're proud of. You have to produce content that you're not going to look at later and wish that you'd never done it. Like, I have stuff that I look back on, love and other things, that are there things that I would change? Absolutely, there's things that I would change, but I don't regret doing it. Like, I don't think it's trash. I don't think that it's I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm not ashamed of it. And as long as you're producing work that you can be proud to say is yours, you're doing it the right way. That's the right way. And for the last thing, I just had a lot going on between the time that I put out The Point of It All and the time that, and today, basically, I just had a lot going on with my health. And a big part of it, now that I'm looking back, a big part of it is that I was stressing myself over some different things, and it was manifesting, as physical illness. And so I talked to my therapist about just the fact that I felt like I wasn't getting anything done, even though I was sick. And she was like, well, is there some emergency? Like, does the world need this book immediately or something like that? And obviously the answer was no. But that's how I was treating it. And I was really punishing myself for, why can't you figure this out? Why can't you figure out what the timing is supposed to be, and why can't you figure out the plot, and why can't you figure out this, and why can't you figure out that. I had this idea for what I wanted to do, and remember all those A to B's, you know, this point A to point B that I talked about trying to put together. I just could not seem to get those, I just couldn't seem to get it together. I just couldn't seem to think my way through it. And I was putting a whole lot of pressure on, you know, the fact that I've been doing this a very long time. And for me, it wasn't even necessarily, I want to say it wasn't necessarily, you know, a concern about what people were going to think about the book, because I mean, of course, there's always that concern. I'm an artist and I'm putting myself out there, and so you want people to enjoy the work. But this was more my own pressure that I was putting on myself. You know, Christina, you've been writing books for, you know, 7 years, and so when you put a book out, it should hit this number, and it should do this, and it should do that. And that's not even to say that those things aren't metrics for you to look at, you know, as you're kind of evaluating your career and evaluating what you're doing and all of that. But it was getting ugly. It was getting ugly. Like I said, I stressed myself into, you know, the physical manifestation of some of those things, and so it was just rough. I had a lot going on, and so my therapist talked to me about resting and not just being in bed and stressing and worrying myself sick about the things that weren't getting done because I needed to rest. No, rest. Rest, and being kind to yourself, or me being kind to myself. And I really had to take that to heart. I really had to take it to heart. I really, you know, and I spent a little bit of time just kind of thinking through that, and I made a promo for the book, and I shared the book cover and all these different things that I was doing, and I'd actually came to a point, what day, maybe Friday, no, maybe Monday or something like that, maybe Sunday or Monday, I came to a point where I was like, you know, maybe it's just not time for this project. I even talked to my friends about it, saying maybe it's just not time for this project. Maybe, you know, you need to wrap your mind around doing something different, etc., etc., etc. And I let it go. I had all this. I had in mind that I wanted to release a book on my birthday. I wanted a birthday release, you know, like that. That was just going to be the cute thing, and blah, 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 blah. And I just let it all go. I decided when the book comes out, it's just going to be when the book comes out. And we're not going to be concerned about how long it's going to be, or if people are going to say it's too short. Because y'all tell me my books are too short no matter what length they are. But I decided I was just going to let all that go and just have fun with it, and et cetera, et cetera. And it would just get written when it got written. And it was like, as soon as I said that to myself and kind of let go of the idea of having a birthday release, it was like light bulbs went off. I can't snap. It was like light bulbs went off in my head, and those dots just started connecting for me. And I, you know, my little thumbs are just going as I'm, you know, writing down these details. You know, these it's like something just unlocked for me once I let it go. And that's not, none of this is to say that I'm not still going to be concerned about what people think about the project, because like I said, I'm an artist, so obviously I am. But I'm very happy with the project. I'm very happy with the way that it's gone, and I feel like I've told their story. And I'm probably gonna talk about this at length in another video, but we really gotta stop treating authors like novellas are useless or something like that. And don't get me wrong, you know, if novellas aren't your thing, if you prefer a longer length, that's totally cool. You know, there's nothing against that. Everybody has their preferences, but all stories don't require a full-length novel. Even if you read it and you want to see more from that couple, that does not mean that the author did something wrong. I talked about this earlier with a friend of mine. It's like complaining about sushi but you ordered spaghetti. It's complaining about, you know, complaining about spaghetti not being sushi is what I'm getting at. It's like, we write what we write, and you're entitled to like what you like. But if you don't like what we write, you have to understand that that's just a diversion of opinion. It's not wrong. Like, you know, the author has not committed a crime by not writing a book that was as long as you wanted it to be, or the heroine annoyed you, or whatever. The author has not committed a crime. The author has not done anything wrong. It simply just did not meet your preferences, and that's okay. That's okay. Nobody is suggesting that you should like everything that you read or like everything that a certain author does or anything like that, but it's just been weird out here lately, man. It's been really, really weird, but y'all not gonna stress me out with this with this novella thing. I wrote a novella, and I'm gonna write some more novellas. But no, I'm joking, but I am still very excited about Collision Course. Really, really, really excited about it. Actually, this is gonna be my 5th set of siblings, I think. I wrote the Trouble series, which is siblings. It was twins in the first book, and then the other 2 books are sisters. The Wright brothers, of course. The Augustin siblings from the Sweet Heat series, and then the Love sisters, and then the Drake, the Drake family, the twins, and then their sister, which actually the Drakes are actually related to the Clark brothers, and I talk about that a little bit in the book. I don't know if I go into detail of how they're related, but it doesn't really matter anyway. But in terms of tone, these books are not at all like the Love Sisters books, and so I don't want you to go into it with that expectation. In terms of tone, they would be a lot more like the Drake books. They're not like the Drake, and I call them books. They're not books. It is literally a short story collection, a very short story collection, not books. But though these novellas will be closer in tone to the Drake stories. And I'm also going to try to do a back-to-back. Is that right? Back-to-back 3 books. Yes, a back-to-back release for these novellas. And so I'm excited to dive right back into the next brother's book. I have in mind who I think the next brother is going to be, but that doesn't mean that it is going to be that. We will see. But I'm really excited for you guys to meet Addison. Addison and Samara, her name was Karen, spelled Kerryn, but I have to change that because I get stuck in these modes with these names sometimes, where I'll have a whole bunch of N names, or I'll have a whole bunch of A names, and I was on the verge of doing it again with K names, and so I was like, you know what? Let me back up. Her name was Samara at first, and then I changed it, and so then I changed her back to her original name. But anyway, I finished it. I finished it today, and so I will be able to have that birthday release that I was so incredibly stressed about, and so I'm excited. But I need to do my read through, and I need to do some editing, and I have all kind of stuff that I need to do for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Bye.